As a user experience designer, it's very important for you to understand why you're going to be using certain components in your web, mobile, or software projects. In this case, we are going to be dealing with the theme. So why will you choose to create a theme section on a particular page, or why will you choose to create a dedicated page for a theme? Simply put, the theme section or the theme page allows the company, the organization, or your clients to showcase their expertise. It just helps to give a human face to that company, and it helps build trust with their users or the website visitors or whoever is going to come in touch with their product. Now, what are the components of the theme section or a theme page? First thing should be the team photos. So they should have high quality photos of each team member, the name of that team member, their role or their position, a brief biography giving insights into that team member's expertise, their interests, career background, and optional, you could add social media links, you could add fun facts, hobbies, contact information, and any other thing that will help to customize your client's project, but also build some sort of credibility. Now that we've understood the fundamentals of a theme section or a theme page, let's start designing. Before we start designing, I think we have to have a look at our design system, because we already have a logo, we have a typography scale, we have a color palette, and we have icons. So if you haven't watched the tutorial, I'm going to be attaching one. We'll have a dedicated playlist for how to create a design system. And I'm also going to be attaching this particular Figma file so that you can follow along with me. Now, we are going to start designing. So in order to start, we're going to have to create a frame. Make sure that you select the frame tool rather. Then you come under the design panel and we're going to select desktop. We'll call this theme, and we are going to be changing the background. So make sure that the frame is selected. We're going to click on the styles and variables icon, and we're going to be selecting this shade, which is under trade wing 700. Okay. Next, we need to create a layout grid. It's going to help us to align our contents or align our elements properly. So make sure that the frame is selected. Come to where we have layout grid, click on the plus button, then click on the layout grid setting, and we are going to change this to columns. So we want 12 columns, and we want a margin of 120, and a gutter should be 24 pixels. So this is the spacing in between the columns. When you're done, just tap on the enter key on your keyboard, and we're going to close this. The next thing we're going to be doing is to create a card for our team members. So we are going to create a square. Make sure that you select the rectangle tool. Hold down shift to draw a perfect square, and we're going to be entering the width and the height manually. So select the rectangle or select the square, enter the width, which is going to be 234, and it's going to automatically update the height because it's constraining its proportions. Enter, and it changed. Next, hold down Alt Shift. We're going to duplicate the square, and we're going to change this to a rectangle. So come to where we have our constraint proportions and click on it. Then we're going to enter a width of 282, and our height is going to be 358. I'm just going to bring this so it aligns to the edge of the very first column and the edge of the third column. Now I want to send this particular rectangle to the back, but before doing that, let's change the color to white, and hold on Control, and your left square bracket is going to send it to the back. Great. So I'll align the square to the edge, and we're going to come to the y-axis and enter 32, so plus 32. So it moves it 32 pixels on the y-axis. Okay. Last thing we're going to do with the square is to change the background. So select the square, come to the styles icon, and we are going to select the orange color, which is going to be 500. Well, let's change it to 400. Yeah, so this is fine. Now that we have the starter for our cards, I wanted to turn off the layout grid so that we can focus a little bit on the design, because we want to start adding our team members. So make sure that the frame is selected, come to where we have layout grid, and we're going to hide it. We're not deleting it, hiding it. Okay, The next thing we're going to do is to add the name and the position. We're going to keep it as simple as possible because we have to make a prototype. So come to the text to click on it, and we're going to click once, enter name. We'll be changing it later. Align it to the edge, make sure that it's aligned to the center, and we're going to drag it so it's the same width as the square. So this is going to be a heading 6. We'll duplicate and we'll just call this position, which is just the row. Now we need to change this to small, and we need to change the color to orange or cinder. Then select the name. We want to change the color to black, so it's 950. Great. So I'm going to select the position and the name, hit Shift A to give it an auto layout, but we want a gap to be 2. Perfect. So I think I like how it looks. I'll just select this and the square because I want to make sure that the gap is 16 here. I'm always precise with my measurements. Now we have this selected. The next thing we're going to do is to bring in our images, so the images of the team members. So we're going to go to File, then Place Image. We're going to select these 4 images because this is what we're going to be bringing in. Click on Open, and I just want to make sure that it's going to fit the height of the rectangle. So we're just placing the images. It doesn't have to be perfect, but at least it should be an estimate of the height of the rectangle. Great. Now we are going to remove the background of the images. So we can do this in several ways. If you are versed with Canva, you can use Canva to remove the background. Photoshop, you can use Photoshop. Any other tool that you're flexible or you're more comfortable using, you can do that and then import the images. In this case, we're going to be using a Figma plugin. So select the images, come to the resource tool, and we are going to select Icons 8 Background Remover, then click on Remove Background. Now this is going to take some time, so I'm going to advise that you use images that have been compressed or smaller sizes. Make sure that the background doesn't have something complicated. So it should be as plain as possible, just like the ones in front of you, and nothing too complicated in the background. And the last thing is the plugin might take some time to remove the background. So make sure that your internet connection is fast. If not, you just have to be patient for the background to be removed. Now that we've removed the background from all the images, the next thing we're going to do is to crop out the empty spaces around the images. So we're going to start with a guy, hold on Control, and I'm going to clip, clip, and clip. We'll clip here. Okay, so I'll just scale her up a little bit because her image is quite low. Great. We're going to proceed with creating a frame for each of these images. So select the first image, hold on Control, Alt, and G, and you notice it changed to a frame. We'll just call this 1. Control, Alt, G, it frames the second one. We'll call this 2. Control, Alt, G, we'll call this 3. Control, Alt, G, make sure it's selected. Control, Alt, G, and we're going to call this 4. Creating this frame is going to allow me to manipulate the hover state of the team cards. So that is why we are creating frames for each of the images. Now that we have this set, the next thing we're going to do is to create the cards for each of this member. Now we have the card base here and we have the images, so we just need to bring this in. We're going to use the guy as the first example. I'll just bring down this card and I'm going to bring down this guy. So before we even do anything, I want us to select this. We need to clip content, select this, clip content, select this, clip content, select this, click content. So it allows me to crop this automatically. Okay, now we're going to adjust him. For the first one, I want it to align to the edge of the square. Great, so we're just going to group this, Control G, and we'll call this 1. We'll still put that in a frame, it doesn't matter. I'll just duplicate this, Alt Shift, and we are going to bring her in. But before doing that, I want us to crop her frame just a little bit so that it has a flat base. Control X to cut, and we're going to click on him. Right click, we're going to paste to replace. And we'll adjust her. Okay. Now we'll duplicate this. Let's just select the two. Alt and Shift, select her. Control X, paste to replace, Control Shift R. Let's just select the square, align to the bottom. Okay. And for the last lady, we'll select her, Control X, and select the lady. Make sure that you're selecting the frame that contains the lady. The whole frame. This is what we call 1. And we're going to do Control Shift R, paste to replace. Okay. So I'll just adjust her a little bit because she kind of exceeds the width of the card. So I'll just select, make sure the image is selected. I'll just constrain this just a little bit. I know that it's going to be a little bit odd because it's not going to really fit this lady's height and the others, but we'll just work with her for now. So with that, I need to make sure that I adjust the frame. So this is the frame. I'll just crop it just a little bit. And I will bring her down. I wish we used another image, but this is what we have for now. So maybe I'll just bring her down. Yeah. Okay. So we have our base for all the cards. And I'm going to select all of them. Take it up. I'm just verifying to make sure that everything is inside the card. Now we are going to duplicate this because we need to create the hover states. So we're going to select the first image, click on fill, and we're going to go to saturation and reduce it to 0. We'll do the same for the other images. Make sure that the image is selected. The image needs to be selected. Click on the fill, reduce saturation. Okay, so for the hover state, we're going to be clipping the images. So make sure that the frame is selected, minus 16 for the height. So it clips it and we're going to bring it down. Minus 16, make sure that is the frame that is selected. Minus 16. Bring her down. Same thing here. Minus 16. Enter. And I'll bring her down. Let's bring her down. And minus 16. Bring her down. Okay. Now the last thing before we start creating our components is to change the hover state of the cards itself. So I'm selecting all the cards, holding down Control Shift, and we're going to come to the Effects Plus. We're going to change the drop shadow settings. X is supposed to be 0, Y should be 10, the blur should be 30, and the opacity or transparency should be 10. Okay, so we have this in place, and I think it's time for us to create our components. So select all the cards And we're going to come to our component tool, click on the drop down. I'm going to create a component set. Our component set is going to be titled scene. And we are going to change the properties. So we're going to create a variant. Now select the components, click on the plus button, and we're going to create a variant. Our variant is going to be count. So this is for the team members. We'll just say 1 for now. And the first one is going to be states. Okay, so this is going to be the default state. Let's see if it has it. No, it doesn't have it. So we'll just enter default. And we're going to select this, and give it the value of default. Next, we're going to create the state for hover. And I'm going to select this, hold on shift to select all. We're going to give it the state of hover. Okay, it's showing that we're conflicting. So this is going to be 1, this is going to be 2, this is going to be 3, and this is going to be 4. Great. So what we have done is we have just made sure that this is going to be team member 1, team member 2, team member 3, and team member 4. So team member 1 has the default state and the hover state, and same for all the other team members. Now we are going to create a text property. So select all the names. And come to the create text property. We'll just call this name. And the value is going to be name. For the position, select all the positions. Come to we'll have a text property. And we're going to create a property. And we're going to call this position. Create property. Great. Now that we have that working, the last thing we're going to do is to create a prototype. So we have this, select the components, come to the prototype tab, and we'll start with the very first one. So when you hover over this card, click on the plus node and drag it down to the hover state. While hovering, we want the state to be hover, and we want the animation to be smart animate. This can change to 500 milliseconds. So that's the duration can change to 500 milliseconds. And we're going to do the same for the second team member. Just make sure that it's while hovering. Look. And we do the same for the third while hovering. And for the fourth while hovering. And we are done. So I'll just take this component out of our frame. And we'll go back to our design tab. So I want us to bring in all the team members that we just prototype. Now select the 4 in the default state, hold down Alt and drag in. You know you can access this directly, but if you are working on another page and your component is on another page, you just need to access it from the Assets tab. You just enter the assets name and it's going to bring up a different component. So we just call this team. And you see he has brought down this. Okay, let's focus on what we are doing here. And we are going to turn on a layout grid. I just want to make sure that it aligns properly. And I'm going to create a very simple effect. I'll just bring them up. We're going to give this a title of Meet Our Team with a heading 2. We're going to duplicate and I want us to add a little description here. Medium. So let's type this and this. So it's occupying 6 columns. And I'm going to bring in text, Control V to paste, Shift A, our spacing can be 8. And we're going to give this Control G to group it. Our spacing is going to be 40. And we are going to change the names of each of these team members. So come to our resources tool. We are going to click on Lorem Ipsum plugin. Now we're going to select all the names, and under the fake data we are going to give this a full name. I don't like her name, so I'm just going to change it. Generate full name. Okay, now for the position, select all, Control for the first one, then hold down Shift to select all the other ones, click, and we're going to come to where we have job title, and we'll just fit in this dummy data. Now we have customer division, internal paradigm, and the like. Okay, so we have created a team section, and we now need to test to see if this is going to work. So I wanted us to do one more thing. Let's just variate the background a little bit. Let's see if our background is going to change. We're just playing around with the different shades. Okay, so we have that, and now it's time for us to test to see if our prototype is working. I'll just turn off the layout grid, and we're going to come to where we have our present icon. Click on it once, and let's wait to see if our component is working the way it should. Okay, so we have this, 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 and this. So these are all cool. So these are all cool ways of customizing your team page. This is just one of them. There are several ways you can customize your team page and prototype it. So guys, thank you so much for watching. We have come to the end of our tutorial. I hope you have been able to learn something. If you have a question, please leave it in the comment box. If there's a tutorial you want me to touch on, leave it in the comment box. And please don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, and don't forget to share. Till next time, bye-bye.